Today's session, finding and closing investors for your CBD startup. My name's Samantha Miller, and I'm here to introduce our incredible panel, but I'm actually going to let them introduce themselves.
Ladies first.
Oh, there you go.
Not a problem for me. My name is Eleanor Curry. I am a business and real estate attorney here in Houston, and also have part of my practice in California. And we kind of branched out into CBD because I had clients in industrial hemp, buying lots of hemp, getting lots of money for the various uses for hemp. And it just kind of started a different branch. So me and my partner work with a lot of businesses in making sure they set up their CBD enterprises correctly. That's me.
My name is Joe Griffith. I'm the franchise wholesale liaison for your CBD store, SunMed, Sunflora, out of Florida. Before then, I worked with another major CBD company as a Florida operations manager, where I opened and trained and built out the stores, built out about 8 corporate stores and then other stores for other owners. I'm also a 23-year firefighter with 2 years left to go. And I've been with your CBD store now for just over a year. I've probably onboarded about 80 stores in the past year working with them.
That's a lot.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to be honest with you. I have a list of questions to ask you guys, but we've got one person in the audience. I want to be respectful of your time, to you and to you guys. So why don't we do this as more of an open format, if that's okay with everybody? Do you have any specific questions that you would like to have addressed to these amazing experts?
To be honest with you, we are manufacturers. And I thought, I would like to hear what they're saying regarding that. So I'm into CBD. I don't need investors for that area.
So you're looking for investors in what type of area then? I mean, to do what? I mean, the main thing that I deal with is mainly getting the money for people to open up the stores, the franchise stores. So, our investment is really, when you look at the grand scheme and other franchises, it's only 60 to 82,000 on the high end. So, usually people can borrow that type of money or borrow against their 401, get it from family members. That's when I got started in the CBD industry 2 years ago. That's what I did. I borrowed on my 401 to open up a store. So that's how I finance myself. From a corporate side, I have a list of lenders. I found that when you go to a private lender or someone, Uncle Bob or someone over here or someone that you've heard about, from a friend, usually those interest rates are really high. They want a part of your business. So from the corporate side, we have a list of lenders and banks that we send our people to. So, but there are a lot of government programs out there as well. So you're out of here in the States or? Okay.
I guess the second part of that, or where I usually come in, is how do you structure it if traditional financing is not your option? And that may be your case. Certainly equipment seems to be asset heavy. No.
I say that's one part of my business.
Oh.
We don't need any help on that.
Okay.
I'm a speaker on current GMP practices.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Boom.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think.
Speaker meets speaker.
Right. I think it just.
We'll figure it out. It's a completely different thing. It's Forex investment, and we're doing great. And I thought we might find a hedge fund or someone here, family office. I thought, okay.
Yeah, like I said, on our side, it's mainly, I have a list of lenders I can just turn all my people over to. And again, I had a guy who opened up a store last month, and he did it just at $61,000, and he had borrowed all that money, so, and a lot of people will also split the cost. They'll, get a friend to go 50-50 with them, and, after about 2 or 3 months, they make their money back easily. So, yeah.
Yeah. Certainly tiering people and LLCs, and you can get creative with how you issue equity or debt, and that probably be the way I would approach it. Sounds like you already have built out the model, and if it's Forex, it's become popular. It's a buzzword that people kind of connect people, the money that they can bring to whatever you want to give them, either equity or debt would be probably the best way to leverage it. And maybe in some convertible terms, to give you the most flexibility as far as control. It's probably what I would.
So we're excited. Tyra is here as well to join us. Do you mind doing a little introduction?
No, not at all. Hi, how's everyone doing today? Sorry, I'm a little late, a little out of breath. I rushed up here. But I am an attorney, a partner at the Curry Law Firm with Eleanor Curry, and I've been practicing now for about 7 years. I have a focus in business, and sorry, I'm out of breath. I really was trying to get up here as quickly as possible. But really, I am intrigued and excited with the hemp and CBD industry and the growth and the potential that it has. I'm also excited for the opportunities that may come later down the line with marijuana, especially with some of the legal strides that we're making in legislation and with Congress. So I definitely think it's a great field to get into. There's so much opportunity with capital. As long as you approach it with the right intent and as a business as any other industry, I think that it's definitely groundbreaking and something that you can definitely excel in.
Those investors, and you are promoting people get money from the 401ks and family.
You know what, I try to tell, like I said, $60,000 to $80,000 really in the grand scheme of things isn't really a lot of money. So normally what I do is I try to tell people to go through family members, borrow on that 401k, if they want to. I don't, that's one of our things with our models. I mean, we're very owners first. I don't want to set anyone up for failure because now that we're a franchise, they fail, that goes on our record. So, I tell them to use get a couple partners. I mean, I have a couple people that have 3 or 4 partners that have their store, and then as that store starts to do better, they have that money that they have accumulated, and they'll open up another store. That was a big risk. My wife was about to kill me when I took some money out from my 401, to do that. But luckily, it paid off, and I made that money back, and I put it right back in there. But, that's not always the case for everyone. Mm-hmm. So it's business. You're taking a chance.
Because you're selling contracts, basically.
Right, yeah.
In your case, if someone comes, do they need to provide a business plan or an investor exec, or you create that in order to find the investors for them?
Any investor is definitely going to want to see a business plan. They're going to want to know how you plan to use the money, what is going to be the likelihood of them getting it back. That helps them assist. In lieu of COVID, a lot of companies are having a setup where you can take out of your 401k without a penalty, and then they're giving some leeway with how you pay the money back into your 401k. So I know that was the case for 2020. I don't know if they'll be doing that again for 2021, but it's something to look into if you have a 401k setup where you can take it out and not be penalized as you normally would be.
Yeah, when you talk about the business plan, typically the business plan, I think it kind of can be silly, right? You do this whole big thing. If you don't understand the numbers, or if you pay a consultant to do your business plan for you, but you don't understand the numbers and you go in to talk to a bank and it's clear that you're reading like they're reading, it doesn't speak well to you. So I often work with clients on filling in the legal section of their business plan and making sure they understand the risk, because this is a conversation you'll have to understand with banks. And if you plan to have investors, you need to be able to tell them, this is our audit pattern. This is, our structure. This is how much will be given back to you. So that's a discussion, and I can fill in my part, but really a business plan, I think, works best if you intimately understand the details of your business. And if you don't, and you're going to work with a team to do that, at least understand the money. Understand where the money is going and coming, and that will feed into the legal part. Like, how am I protecting your money? And you have to understand that. So I would say I'm just a component to the team you need to build, but also, I wouldn't do a business plan for a client in this type of high risk industry, because then they would just not understand some of the things that are important that they need to know.
after the first month, as we're going, usually it takes about 2.5 to 3 months with us to get a store open. So like right off the bat, that's one of the first things I ask for. And we sit down and go over that business plan. We have 4 of us on a committee at corporate, and we go over that business plan and take a look at it and see how real it really is. And then we'll make adjustments and then talk to them about it. I mean, as a franchise liaison, that's part of our job, you know, of looking at the business plan, looking at their leases, all their paperwork, everything. So, you know, that's how it's set up with us. But again, the business plan, some of these business plans you get, I'm like, where'd you get this off Google?
They do, they pull them off Google.
Actually, they go in there and they put in fillable business plan on Google, and, you know, I've seen a bunch of them, they all look the same, and I'm like, okay. So.
A business plan is also a living document. It's not just something that you do in the beginning and then you never go back to it. As your business grows and evolves or changes, you are going to want to go back to that business plan and make the appropriate changes. And if you're doing that consistently, then when you get to a point where you may want to take it to the next level and you'll need more investors, that document will already actively reflect what your business is doing and what you're projecting to do in the future, instead of having to just try to, you know, throw it together really quickly. So I would say make sure that you do it in the beginning, and like Eleanor was mentioning, making sure that that you are fully aware of what your business is going to do and what you want it to do, and then make sure that you're also working with it as your business is growing and, you know, evolving.
And we talked about earlier kind of what has happened with COVID. I see people all the time who are facing challenges with landlords, or what to do now, or I thought I had this contract and now people can't pay. So part of what your business plan allows you to do when you really make it a living document is to pivot, right? You may have to say, okay, this was my plan, but you can't be so sold on it that instead of, for his stores, for instance, if you were planning for people to come shop retail and now you need to do delivery, right? Your business plan tells you, one, you're missing some metrics. You thought your sales were going to be XYZ, it's not. Now what do you do? Right? And then you kind of have like a yellow zone, green zone, red zone. And when you're in the red zone, you know you need to make change and action now. So the business plan, and that's why the financial part is so important, those metrics, when you're not meeting them, you can't just do that forever, right? You have to begin to change. And so that's why the living document is so important about it, because this is an industry where we're all like adjusting. Okay, what is legislation going to do? Adjust. What's going to happen financially? What happens when that market expands and you can get more access to capital? Adjust, you know. So that's the beauty of a business plan. You have what you plan to do, and then when things start to deviate, you start changing too.
Right.
Yeah, when COVID kicked off, we actually we set up workplace videos with all of our business owners, and we had a lawyer there, and we actually walked them through the process of submitting all the paperwork they needed for the government. And I would say probably about 80% of our owners were able to get money to help them to get through those hard times. And, you know, I won't lie, we lost probably about a dozen stores, but those people didn't have the money that they should in the bank, and they weren't following their business plan because they didn't have 3 to 4 months worth of bills in the bank as you should. So, you know, like she said, pivoting, and, you know, we did curbside, we did delivery, and I know that our stores were still just looking off the sales off of our, their corporate, that, you know, people were paying the bills, you know, and they were able to stay open. And even with everything going on, we just, like the past 4 months, we've been doing about 20 to 25 stores a month, just in the past 4 months, even with all this stuff going on. So, yeah.
And I think, you know, when it comes to capital, people are more creative. Like, you found that what you plan to do isn't the good fit. So even the more low risk potential investors are now at least opening their ears to what other markets could do. Maybe they thought, oh, I only invest in this, I only like this ROI, I only like, you know, these 5 industries because it's what they understand. But now, at least with all the changes from COVID, you have a listening ear. Now, you still have to do the work, right? You have to present something to them that they can connect to, and that seems like it's going to be profit positive for them. But if you can do that, they are less like holding on to their pockets like this. And
You say hemp, you never say CBD, which gets me sad. Are you talking about hemp as in fiber as well, or only CBD oil?
Both. I mean, hemp has,
Okay. I'm lying.
No, this is great, because.
Industrial hemp is a big market, and I think for farmers, because we have so much land, even farmers who are willing to diversify, not only because there are so many uses for it, but because it grows so much, right? The challenge is farmers don't know how to grow hemp.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to grow hemp, things can go very poorly very quickly, and if you don't harvest properly,
they're looking about $21, $22 million. Can you help them get that kind of money?
certainly, I've had clients who've bought $25 million ranches to begin to do hemp processing on. I think it has to be a full package. Obviously, drying is a big issue. Understanding the electrical outputs that are required for such a processing
In
plant.
the case of fiber, you don't dry them, you ret them. So it's a completely different process than
Okay.
CBD oil. And the fiber processing facility that we're talking about will be processing 20,000 pounds per hour. For fiber,
hour.
the volumes are humongous.
That's the humongous, yeah.
Yes, humongous. So, but that's the kind of facilities that we require, because here in Texas is 7 million acres of cotton grown last year. And the biggest fiber processing facility that we're going to install here in Texas will process 20,000 pounds, and it's only 25,000 acres. So we require like 340 facilities like this one to, if the cotton industry moves into a hemp fiber. So it requires, that was the main goal coming into here, because we have clients here right now in Texas that would like to install the facility, and they don't have all the money.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have enough people to supply that amount that you can process in an hour? I mean, is there?
The farmers are eager and excited because too many things. They are getting certain amount of money on cotton per acre, and the amount of money that they can get from hemp fiber, it's a lot more than cotton. That's one thing. The other thing is they're going to use a lot less water savings. They don't use pesticides. They don't use herbicides. And the cotton, the hemp, has a phytoremediation property. So that means that if they switch the crop from, so next time they grow cotton here, the yield is going to be 23, 27, maybe 30% more. So farmers, you have no idea. As soon as I say something on LinkedIn regarding that one, the farmers are like, Vinny, man, we are there. We want to, because farmers are eager. They are sick and tired of cotton, but there's nothing else that they can grow.
Well, in Florida, we just opened it up this year to go ahead and start planting hemp. The only problem was that a lot of people got into it, and one of the biggest things was they didn't have buyers for their hemp. They didn't know how to properly dry it.
For the fiber or for the CBD oil?
For the CBD oil.
Yes.
So I don't know that much when you're talking about the fiber and everything. So we talk about biomass. I don't know, is the fiber used, are you using biomass as part of the? Go ahead, break it down.
I mean, if you guys don't mind, I think this is actually a great discussion, and maybe we pause for a second. Let me just ask, does anybody else have any question? Yes? I'm gonna need you to talk in the mic, sir.
I'm sorry. I feel bad. I don't want to so
But wait, real quick, because I want to make sure, does anyone else, so since we're a smaller group today, we just kind of wanted to keep it informal and open it up to questions. No? Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay, so let's go back to hemp. There's completely two different genetics.
Okay.
For CBD oil, you're going to be talking about the fat, bushy one short. You get as much floral material, like people call it
Whole
biomass, for CBD oil. For fiber, you have long stalk, skinny ones, kind of like bamboo, 14, 15 tall. And you don't want that, any flower whatsoever, or any seeds or maturation, because then the lignins are going to get too brutal. And what you want is be able to cottonize that fiber.
Right.
And it's a lot stronger than fiber. So it's completely two different genetics. I started doing CBD oil like 6 or 7 years ago, and I was doing great, but I always been looking into fiber. So the fiber facility that we are promoting it requires a lot of capital. And we're working with a couple of clients, but a lot of people talk about, yes, we can get you the money. I've seen that with many clients. And then at the end, there's no money. So that's what I was asking.
What about renting the property? I mean, I know a couple farmers in Florida who are renting their property. I have one that's renting the property, and he's renting all the equipment, and he's doing it that way, and he's paying off on pieces of this equipment and the land at the same time, and that's what he's doing. And I mean, there's been a lot of people try to grow hemp in Florida, and they haven't been very successful But supposedly, from everything I've been reading, everything's going to start changing now. People are finding buyers, but that was the biggest thing. These people all went out there and started, planting hemp, and they had no one to buy it.
Yeah, I think that's always the concern with farmers, and I think that's why co-ops are so appealing to them so frequently, is because, yeah, you can grow it, but if you don't have those connections to sell it, then what's the purpose, right, if you don't have a buyer? And I know that in Florida and in Texas, co-ops, at least the idea of them, have taken off. But still, I don't know, even in that type, because we talk about different types of hemp and the different uses, if they are connected to buyers that can give that max output, right? Because when you start looking at this, and when you're pitching this to an investor, right, it's, okay, well, we can do this much per day. But who are you selling it to this much per day? Do you have some early negotiations that talk about, okay, these are the metrics that we'll be buying this product in? And that's why the co-op is powerful, because then you can have some guaranteed, you have a additional ability to guarantee that you're going to get the input in, and then your processing facilities will do what they do. So,
The nice thing with the fiber is, the fiber, when you process it, you have 4 byproducts. A long technical fiber that you can cottonize, the short fiber that you can use for fiber composites or non-wovens like carbon fiber, the herd that is going to be kind of like the woody stuff that you can make hemp wood, hemp plywood, anything that you imagine that with plywood or wood, you can, and the dust that you can pelletize. So the hemp wood that is going to, the hemp long technical fiber, you can use it as a commodity like cotton. So if there's in the States 16 million acres of cotton being sold, can we sell 25,000 acres of hemp cottonized fiber? I mean,
It definitely seems
It's a
marketable
no-brainer.
with regards to all of the different uses that you can have for it. But I do just want to piggyback off of, and I've seen it with business plans that people have come to me and they're like, we're meeting people, but it's just not following through, and it's that output that is missing. But also you mentioned that you are meeting people, or you're having investors, but then the money isn't there. And so I just wanted to stress, like, also making sure that you're doing your homework on the investor that you're potentially seeking, and making sure that all the work that you're putting forth and trying to sell, your business to them, that is worth it, because that is time, and you are kind of pitching it to that specific person. So just doing your homework and making sure that that investor that you're seeking really does have the capital to support what it is that you need.
so in our case, we provide the business plans and the investors deck for the clients, and we don't work on them unless they pay us a retainer fee. And most of the time it's 1%, so I don't work with the client unless they pay me. I don't want to waste my time. And with that, we do the business plans. We use LivePlan, so it completely automates everything. Everything that I do is completely updated, so we don't have to be worried about, am I following the plan? And I just don't want to continue talking because I can talk for hours.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions that they'd like answered? Is there anything that you guys, as our amazing panelists, maybe want to just talk about, either something you've seen with some of your clients, customers, the market, what's going on with COVID? I know you guys had touched on that a little bit, how to best pivot your company.
Sure. Like I said, when COVID kicked off, we have Facebook Workplace, so we went on there. We talked to all of our store owners, told them what paperwork to fill out, how to pay. I mean, it was like a 2-hour process on Workplace, and we actually walked through the process with them. We told them, all right, if you guys, depending on where you're at in this country, if you're closed down, and one of the things that actually saved us on a couple stores, especially in Florida, is that we sold pet treats. So pet treats is an essential thing because of animals. So we use that across the country. So, a lot of our stores were able to stay open, and because of that, that's when call the stores, hey, how are things going? How you doing? One of the things that we did was we actually had them get with their landlords and say, hey, look, we haven't seen anything like this ever before. Is there any way you can go ahead and defer 3 or 4 months, add an addendum to the lease, and add 3 or 4 months to the end of the lease? And I would say probably about 70% of our store owners were able to do that. So, as a company, we were trying to think of all sorts of things to help our owners out. And one of the nice things, our credit card processing, we have people in our system. So we told people, you should already be doing this, but you need to be going through your GPP mobile, and you should be pulling up all your customers. Hey, how you doing? I know this time is stressful, and there's been plenty of articles about, COVID, people being stressed. And so, we told them, get out there, call your people, tell them that you're here for them. And, like I said, out of 600 stores, we still have a lot that are open. There was, I know of another company, and they lost a lot. We lost probably about just over a dozen stores. So, having that support system in place is very important. And I mean, again, that's our motto at your CBD stores, owners first, transparency. So we're always like that with our owners. And if anybody wants to open up a franchise,
I'll say that on
you
the
gotta
mic.
sign up.
$5,000 franchise fee is waived. Your CBD store. Talk
Yes.
to this man.
He said it.
That's right,
I'm with
franchise fee
us.
is waived. But no, I mean, there was a lot of things that we did, with COVID that's kicking off. And, I days a mask or closing down. I'm still trying to talk to some people in California to find out what's going on there, because I heard they're on lockdown.
Yeah, I just left California.
So, but getting, thinking out of the box. I was like, we should just you call your landlord. Hey, give me 3-4 months, because they don't want to lose people. I have prime spaces in Manhattan right now, going really cheap, and I have one guy that's getting ready to open up a store there in Manhattan. So he was able to get a really good deal on the square footage. So, yeah. Your CBD store? Yeah.
No franchise fee.
No franchise.
5K is waived.
No franchise fee. And I'll
Too late. Like, something about entrepreneurs makes them think that they should do it all by themselves. So they sit and they call the landlord themselves, and they start trying to rework their numbers, and they don't reach out to a professional until it is almost too late. You call me, you haven't paid your rent in 4 months. I'm just trying to not get a judgment against you, right? But if you call me in 30 days in, or even when you see something coming, pay attention to what's going on. Legislation's coming down the path. Okay, is it going to impact me? What can I do right now to start addressing the issues that will come and directly impact me because of it? So I think when you have a good franchise company that you work with, they're telling you, okay, these are the things that we're telling everyone to do. Let's be proactive. Let's reach out before you get locked out. How can we work with the landlord? Because the reality is, as mean as landlords have been, and I know a lot of landlords who have been very mean to clients and very besides me. Okay, they're not going to like the build out. Are you willing to put out capital so that they get their building just the way they like it? No? Okay, well then you could evict me. I'm judgment proof because I have no money. So let's talk reality. Like, I don't have the money, but I may in 4 months, or I'm willing to work with you, or I'm willing to postpone this or break this up in payments. But when you ask too late and you just try to internalize it all yourself and don't ask for help from a professional who can help you, the problem compiles to a point where there is no way out. So I would say, don't be afraid. Don't feel like because you're an entrepreneur, you have to be Superman or Superwoman. Reach out for help.
I would just kind of to piggyback off of what they've both said, with times right now that are very chaotic and with the industry that's also growing and changing, make sure that you're flexible and that you're creative with what it is that you're doing. And in tune with that, also being abreast and knowledgeable of what's going on with legislation, not just with regards to CBD and hemp itself, but also with regards to what type of businesses can and cannot stay open and operate in lieu of COVID. So making sure if you're having your plan in place, but also in the back of your mind, always kind of keeping up with the trends, keeping up with what people are buying, what you can and can't sell, and being creative with how you deliver it, or what the market needs at the time, I think you'll be able to ride the wave with the changing times right now, but definitely stay educated and stay creative and flexible at the same time would be my 2 cents.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? I see a hand.
Considering that you have a lot of stores, are you planning on
I mean, we're in the know. We know what's going on and everything, but we're really trying to grow our imprint over in the UK. I mean, we have 5 stores in the UK. I'm working with someone right now in Canada. You know, in Canada, you gotta have a medical card. So I said, all right, well, let's get our stores over there and just find out whatever we have to do to get a medical card. So I have an in Canada, so hopefully we'll be going down there. And, you know, we just really just been going with the flow. I mean, we are really trying to grow our imprint. I mean, we're going to be down in Mexico soon. I got a guy in Ecuador right now. So, you know, after the new year, I'll be going down to Ecuador. That'll be fun. So, you know, just to check out the landscape. So, but with all the, I mean, that's someone else upstairs that takes care of all that stuff. So,
what do you think a good idea with, you know, partner with at least, I think, Hemp, call him FDA approval, sales are going to take off.
yeah.
So you're not planning on doing something over there on that
Well,
area?
like I said, that's I'm not a C, so the C's are upstairs. I mean, my thing, like what I've been working on is I've been trying to work with, I'm like already in 2 medical dispensaries, you know, so I've been reaching out to medical dispensaries saying, hey, let's go ahead and get our product in your stores, and let's, you know, again, thinking out of the box, you know, and, you know, we either will white label for you, but, I mean, I've got 2 big dispensaries that I'm in right now, and it's going well. So, but again, the other stuff, the lobbying and everything, that's the big boys.
So what's the key to finding lease space that the leaser is willing to lease space to a CBD retail location? I mean, and healing herbs. And when they hear healing herbs, they say, are you gonna sell CBD? And that was like the first thing that we wanted to sell. It's not one of our main product line, but that's always the question that I get approached at the very beginning of, you know, that conversation. And so I notice when there's like a Randall's or a Kelsey Siebel or something like that, they're like, oh, there's lease specifications and maybe we can't. So what's the key to that, finding a good lease space?
All right, this is what we tell our franchise people. We say, you know, when you're looking for a space, you want to go somewhere where there's a lot of foot traffic. You know, in Florida, we have Publixes. So being in one of those strip centers, I would say that would be like a B strip center, you know. But when you're going with the big boxes and everything, they usually have to go through, like I have one store that's right next to a Whole Foods and they had to beg and plead just to get inside there. But, you know, it comes down to education, really. You got to educate these people. Yes. You know, when you go in there, like we actually have a nice little packet. It's a realtor packet. So when we're going out there and meeting, you know, a new landlord, you know, this is what we have, a boutique. We're going to be selling CBD. CBD is not, you don't need a medical card for it. I'm not going to have, you know, our whole pitch is that, you know, it's like a spa feel. So we tell them, you know, there's not going to be any deadhead stickers. There's not going to be any glass bongs in there. But I mean, just basically explaining the process to them. As far as, you know, your location, one of the things I tell people all the time is, you know, something real easy. You just go on loopnet.com, you pull up wherever retail space that you're looking for. 9 times out of 10, when you pull up that brochure, it's going to give you all the demographics for the area. With our stores, if someone gives me a location, and I'll be honest, if the income is below 50, in the 5-mile area, it needs to be at least more than 50,000, and that's how we figure out where to put the stores. And you know, with us, I'll hop on the phone with the landlord, send them over the packet, and normally we don't. I mean, I have some people that are paying, you know, anywhere from $20 to $42 a square foot, not including camp. So these people that are on the higher end, the 42, the 48, you know, they have some sweet locations. I mean, they're really nice. So, you know, again, it just comes down to education. For us, it's easy. Here's our pamphlet. This is what all of our stores look like. We're a franchise. We have 600 stores. Small boutique on that side, again, it would just come down to educating them on what CBD really is. You know, biggest thing is that they're worried that you're going to have a different crowd come to that strip center. So you've got to be able to explain to them, you know, we're on the high end, and, you know, so those are the things you need to do.
And I would agree with what he's saying. Part of that is education, and part of it is the presentation. And with the franchise, obviously, he's working with you to get that presentation together. But leasing is kind of like Tinder, right? And, you know, landlords are going to be risk. And if you need any TI allowance, they're thinking we're going to give you this money, make this investment, and you bow out for whatever reason. And then not only do we not get the income, we don't get payback. So I think, you know, part of that comes in how you present it. And just like he does a nice package to give to landlords, it's something you can do for yourself. They do it for you in his circumstance, but you can do it yourself. And certainly you can work with a broker who helps you really explain what it is that you do, explain your demographic, because that's really what they care about. They want to know who you'll be attracting and what will be around your space. So this is what we're attracting. This is what our profit margin is. And depending on the type of lease, you know, they may be looking for some reimbursement based off of your sales. So that is another kind of, okay, well, we expect sales to hit this part this much in 6 months. And so if you're able to do that, that's additional revenue source for them, and it appeals to them. So you just have to talk to them. Certainly looking on LoopNet is a great source. I use CoStar because I'm a broker, but understanding what their mix is, and if you have a broker who can tell you, okay, it's been vacant for a year or 2 years. Okay, well, we don't have anything to talk about, because the risk on me is a lot different than you just sitting here and not making any money, you know, taking the risk on me. So talk to them in their terms, and whenever you're having negotiations, you know, think about it from what they want. They want, you know, a certain type of demographic, they want a certain type of traffic, they want a certain guarantee of income, and speak to them in those terms, you know, and the rest will wash away in my experience. And 16 years in commercial real estate, so.
And with COVID going on, you'd be surprised that they'll work with you know, we can move your location and we're not going to pay for it and we're going to relocate you. And I told them, whenever I get any of those leases and I read, I'm like, either tell them no or let's find somewhere else. And this last one right next to Whole Foods, they just took the whole thing out. They took out that little paragraph saying that, well, you know, so now he's locked in and he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. So.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If they're giving you pushback, then ask them what are their concerns. Ask them the right questions if they're hesitant to want to. If they were okay at first and then they find out you're doing CBD and then that makes them very hesitant, then ask them what's their concerns. Like they mentioned, is it demographics? Is it the uncertainty of the industry? Is it, you know, whatever it is, and you can speak directly to that and provide assurances or at least some relief that that's not your intent, or you have safeguards so that doesn't bring, you know, certain whatever to them. So just ask the right questions, and then as Eleanor mentioned, make sure you have the right people on your team. Make sure you have a broker or an agent who can speak to them. You bring the industry knowledge, and then that broker or agent can bring the leasing, you know what I'm saying, knowledge to make sure that what you need to communicate is being relied properly to the person that you're trying to lease from.
Because don't forget, they have a middleman, right? And so the question, if you just have a verbal conversation with them, is what I'm saying being ultimately relayed properly to the decision maker. So sometimes you're wasting your breath, you're talking to somebody, explaining, oh, we'll do this, it'll be so nice, and all they hear is womp, 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 and they go tell the owner, yeah, I don't think they're a good fit. So, you know, sometimes having things in writing and having that package together, take this to them as opposed to you tell them what I told you, which, you know, you don't know. You kind of lose some control in that, what is that shell game, the telephone game. They come back and say, oh, she's going to have a bunch of beatniks around, and, you know, they'll be waving, you know, crystals naked every Thursday. You know, you don't know what people say. So take that guesswork out.
Yeah.
And so I guess my other question
So is SBA funding totally off of the table?
I mean, like I said, our investment really is not that much, so they'll usually get it from a family member or get a partner, 60 to 80,000. But I have had a couple of people get an SBA loan.
I mean, you just have to remember that the federal government is going to be one of the most conservative lenders out there. So in your particular model, it sounds like that's part of your mix. So I certainly think if the other components that you have are strong enough to cover, because SBA, I promise, is looking at the certain metrics and seeing if you check the box, and if you do, it's potential, and if you don't, then they'll product mix, but it sounds like it's pretty diversified. So you may have an opportunity, but if it was just CBD, I would say that probably isn't a good fit for you. And you'll spend a lot of time waiting for the SBA to get back to you just to hear a no, when time is money, right? Just go a quicker source. It may be more expensive, but then just make sure your numbers have a payback term that makes it make sense.
Yeah, the people that got the SBA loans with us had very high credit scores. And I was like, wow, all right. And it was no problem, but, again, that goes back to having the business plan, because they had a really nice business plan. So.
And the SBA is not going to be your first contact. You're going to work with a bank to get that SBA loan. And so different banks are going to be, usually the banker will be upfront with you. Okay, we do like this type. I know some banks that only really court doctors or only really court restaurants. So find a bank that's a good fit for you, and they will help you navigate the ropes to skip and the ropes to know when it comes to putting the application in front of the SBA.
What I would do is just hop online. I mean, I looked at one last night, getting ready for this, for the board or whatever, but I would just go online and tell you, go on Google and just type in the 10 best banks for cannabis CBD. And it'll come up, and usually, one of the articles I read last night actually had the terms and everything on there.
Yeah.
So Google knows everything.
And sometimes it's not your larger banks that you would think to go to. Sometimes smaller banks have
Credit unions.
Credit unions have bankers there where you can develop a relationship with them, and they'll be more in tune to actually listen to the details of your business versus going with a larger bank that doesn't really have a banker, and you're just another number amongst there are several million thousand people that they work with. So sometimes smaller banks, credit unions, they're your better go-to, where you can develop a relationship with a banker or with someone there to actually assist you with the capital that you need.
Great question. We are actually out of time. Thank you guys all for coming today. Thank you guys for speaking and that amazing advice. We're all going to start doing some research and running our numbers. And some of us might open a franchise.
Come on, let's do it.
Have a great day.
I want to make sure I give you a